Might as well sit. Make ourselves comfortable.
Yeah, move around. Make sure you
Thank you guys all for having us out. Streamline Athletes for putting this service on. I think this is probably something that all three of us would have really benefited from when we were in high school. This is a new program and they're doing great things, and it is really motivated by their passion to see high school athletes thrive and move on to the next level. So hopefully we can contribute to that and be of service. But yeah, they're doing great work, and it's the fact that you guys are all here is exciting for the future of, I think, provincial track and field.
Totally. Thank you. That was very kind. I'll go ahead and introduce you guys. So that's John in the middle. John Gay is a Canadian national team steeplechaser and a master's student in UBC Sauder School of Business. John completed his undergrad studies just last year, right around the same time that he won his third consecutive NAIA national title in the 3,000-meter steeplechase. In 2019, John represented Canada at the IAAF World Cross Country Championships in Aarhus, correct pronunciation, Denmark.
As I could get it, yeah.
And also the World Athletics Championships in Doha, Qatar, this past track. So warm welcome to John. Thanks for being here. Lindsay Butterworth. In 2019, no Canadian woman ran the 800 meters faster than Lindsay did, clocking 2 minutes flat and 31 partial seconds. In Portland, Lindsay represented Simon Fraser University from 2010 to 2015 and has since found success on the international stage. She's represented Canada on several occasions, including the 2018 NACAC Games, the 2019 Pan American Games, and the 2019 World Athletics Championships, also in Doha. In 2018, Lindsay was a Canadian national champion in the 800 meter event. And then on my right here, far right, I've got Django. Do you love it?
I love it.
Love it. I love it. Django, love it. He is a former University of New Mexico high jumper and current member of the Canadian national team, having represented Canada at the recent World Athletics Championships in Doha. Django first wore the Canadian singlet over 10 years ago when he jumped at the World Youth Championships in Italy. In 2018, Django jumped his personal best of 2.3 meters in the high jump. So warm welcome, give him a round of applause. I'm going to direct my first question at each of you, and your turns answering, feel free to play off each other and interrupt me whenever you want. When you were researching universities, tell me a little bit about your process. How, if at all, did you track and rank your options? Who was involved? And then how did you decide what to research in the first place?
Do you want to start?
Sure, since I'm first in line. I probably should have taken a little bit more initiative in researching. I didn't actually research that much. I was pretty new to the sport competitively. And I really leaned on my high school coaches and my parents to help me kind of decide where I was going to pursue post-secondary education and athletics. I think what I was really focused on was where the best track and field program was, which didn't allow me to really research into academic programs that much, which is also very important, and that I later found out, but still, I don't have any regrets on where I chose, but I was pretty overwhelmed with the process in all the options that you have and kind of everything coming at you. So,
yeah, pretty good. That's very in line with how I felt. I joke all the time that I now work for a company that helps athletes make better decisions and smarter decisions, and all I thought about was, I'm tired of Vancouver's rain, I want the sun, I want to go D1, and who's going to give me a scholarship? That's all I thought about, and I feel like I'm one of the few that ended up with a good experience with that sort of approach, but I'd like for you guys to do it differently than I did. John, what about you?
Yeah, similarly to Lindsay, I was relatively naive about the whole recruiting process when it started. Certainly, I learned a lot as I went through it, but I really had to lean heavily on my club coaches. They were a great asset because they coached athletes who had moved on and competed both in the United States and in Canada, and so they had an idea of what that system was like. My parents really had no idea, less of an idea than I did. So they were very supportive, but less of an asset in terms of real experience or words of wisdom that they could impart on my decision. And the biggest thing that I found was just getting in contact with schools that I knew I would be happy at, irregardless of my athletic career. So I was fairly academically motivated as well, and finding schools that ticked the boxes I needed to be ticked academically, whether that was reputationally or the programs that I was interested in, was very important to me. And then trying to find a balance where I knew that if my school was suffering, I would be having a positive athletic experience there, and vice versa. If my academics were suffering or I was going through difficult times, that I would have a strong athletic community that would be fulfilling me in a different sphere of my life and being a support network to me academically. So those were really my big considerations.
Cool.
Yeah, for me, like John, I was pretty naive to not only the process, but even the sport of track and field. I had only been doing it for about a year, and I had some success in my summer of grade 11, and then early grade 12. My athletic and academic high school counselor pulled me into his office, and he handed me a letter from Cornell University. And I said, "What's this?" I was like, "It's a letter from the university. You're getting recruited." I said, "What?"
What is this recruitment?
That's a thing. So he really sat me down and he said, "Look, you've got some talent. I think we can, paint a picture and figure out a path for you." So he gave me the task of just because his daughter had gone through the process, so he had some good insight. So he told me to look up some schools, geographically, and just send out emails to coaches and see what you hear back. So I came up with a list of warm weather was my number one priority. And that was pretty much it. I just wanted some sunshine. I was looking at California, Arizona, and I just sent out a whole bunch of random emails, and I just waited to hear back what I could. And from there, we just pick up the pieces and went from there.
Yeah, that's cool. I think, it's all too often and common that student athletes go into the process just going, well, heck, who's going to be interested in me? And let's see where it goes. And I'm hearing a lot of club coaches and connections and that being a really huge resource. And I'm not dissing those relationships in any way. My club coach was instrumental in finding me a university to compete at. But it is a fact that personal connections, your coach's relationships, they would have a good idea of what might work for you, but just because it's someone that they know and have had a relationship with doesn't really have any bearing on whether or not that institution is right for you as an individual. And following that up with the right research, and like John said, making sure that it ticks those boxes is definitely something that we want to advise you to continue to do. Lindsay, you were a multi-sport athlete growing up. What would your advice be for grade 9, 10s, 11s, 12s, multi-sport athletes? Tell us a little bit about your experience with your sports.
Yeah, personally, I think that is one of the biggest reasons why I'm still in the sport and have had such a successful career later on. I really loved playing all types of team sports growing up. I played pretty high level soccer and field hockey up until grade 12, and then I made the decision to focus more on track and field and saw more opportunity in this sport for me, just in terms of post-secondary and then later on in life. And so I kind of made the decision to play a level down in soccer and just only play kind of club field hockey. And then that allowed me to pursue track and field at a more serious level. And I feel like that just helped my overall development as an athlete, but also as a person, and having social skills and team, being part of a team. And that's helped me in my personal life and professional life as well, and in being really involved in team sports, I think. And just also preventing for myself, I think I would have been burnt out at this time if I had only focused on track from like elementary school until university. I just don't think that would have worked well for my personality or myself as a person in just running all the time from elementary to university. So yeah, I really valued the team sport experience.
Cool. Django, my next question is for you. We talked a lot about different factors, that were important to each of you throughout the process. But what was it like when you finally got to Albuquerque? As a high schooler, how did it feel to continue life somewhere so far away?
I really felt like I landed on Mars. I mean, this is a temperate rainforest, and I landed in a desert where all the buildings are brown. It's just dirt and sand, and it was, but the sun was shining. So I was like, okay, let's make something of this.
What
Really.
other schools did you consider?
I considered University of Southern California, Kansas State, Arizona, I think Montana reached out to me over Facebook. So, you know, I think that's about it.
Back on Facebook.
And Washington State, yeah.
I'm curious about any other visits. Did you visit New Mexico before you signed? Did you take any visits at all?
University of New Mexico was the only one that I was able to go and visit on.
Okay.
My academics weren't great, and that's kind of eventually what kind of put the piece together.
Okay. Happens, you know. Okay, John. You shared a bit about your experience selecting a university, and you ended up at UBC, it sounds like, because it was a great match between this academics and athletics for you. It's unique, we talked about before, that you compete in youth sports and cross country, and then indoor and outdoors in NAIA. Can you tell us about the advantages that gave you as a team?
Yeah, with regards to ending up at an NAIA institution, I kind of walked in with my eyes closed. As I mentioned earlier, I was a little bit naive as to the whole system, generally speaking, of collegiate athletics. And so I didn't really understand the distinction between NCAA or youth sports or NAIA. But what I think drew me to the NAIA, not understanding really anything else about it, was just the fact that I, as a steeplechaser, was able to compete in my main event at the university level. Which, if I wanted to stay in the country, was either going to mean going to UBC or to SFU, where Lindsay went. And so that was a big consideration for me. And I think that's the story of a lot of athletes, that those two Canadian schools competing in American leagues. A lot of athletes have that same story. So if you're a javelin thrower, if you're a race walker, if you're a steeplechaser like I am, those opportunities to compete at the university level don't exist anywhere else in the country, because those events don't exist indoors. If you're a jav thrower, you're not going to throw jav indoors, for instance, or steeplechase. And so that was a big part of it for me. The other consideration was distance from home. I'm from Kelowna, in the Okanagan, and UBC was a distance that was far enough away that I felt like I was getting that real university experience where I was living on my own. I was establishing my own relationships and networks apart from those that I'd grown up in, but it was close enough that I was never more than a 4-hour drive from home, maybe 5 if it's snowing at the top of the Coca-Cola. But there was that proximity where I felt like home was never a world away, but that I was also establishing my own sense of space and my own identity separate of my parents or my family in a new city. So that was another important consideration for me, definitely.
Definitely distance from home. Distance can kind of come in multiple ways. Time zone, also something that you really need to consider. What time zone is New Mexico City? 2 hours. 2 hours, isn't it?
2, I think.
2 hours. 2 hours is not so bad. But whether you go to states or you just go right across the country, you're feeling overwhelmed and it's 8 a.m. and you want to talk to your mom and they're just not awake for hours. That's something to think about. Are you a homebody? Do you like to be in close contact with your family all the time? Something to consider as well. Lindsay. Definitely. Not at all. SFU, we've talked about it. It's unique. It's not unlike UBC in that it competes in an American association. It's not only high ranking academically, but it's the only Canadian NCAA institution. So can you share a little bit about what that meant for you, being the only NCAA program in Canada?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest reasons why I chose SFU, was because it was in Canada, and my club coaches had kind of scared me a little bit into the States. Not sure if, this doesn't happen to everyone, and I don't know how common it is now, but they scared me a little bit into the States in saying that if I got injured, some universities aren't supportive and you might just kind of get dropped. And so that was a bit of a rumor going around that kind of freaked me out because I had a bit of a dream of going to the States and being Div 1, probably like a lot of other athletes. And so I wanted to go away, and I spent a lot of time at SFU playing soccer, and I was thinking I'm never going to go to that place. I hated playing soccer there, but now I've been there for almost 10 years and I haven't left, so it's but yeah, going into the NCAA and just the women's middle distance program there were the two biggest reasons I chose to go to SFU. And I did get a bit of a unique experience because we were just transitioning from the NAI in my first year into the NCAA. So I did get to compete in the NAI in my first year, which was a lot of fun. A lot of people on the team made it to nationals. And it's kind of like how the conference championship is like at the NCAA level. So it was a lot of fun to have like 30 teammates at the national championships. And that was a really great atmosphere. But then we had to sit out in my second year as we were transitioning. But then in my third year, we got to compete in Division 2, which was another step up in championship level and level competition and depth. So there weren't as many people at the national championships, but it was a huge accomplishment to get there. And then the other thing that I really liked about the NCAA was that I did get the 3 seasons. So that was really important to me in being able to compete in cross country, indoors and outdoors. And then we still were, it's not mandatory, but because our coach focuses kind of on long-term development, we were kind of encouraged to compete at Canadian nationals as well. So pretty much every year in university, I competed cross country, indoors, outdoors, and then at Canadian nationals. So that really worked for me. I really like competing and racing. So I never really felt like I was burning out and was still able to make national teams while in university, but understand that doesn't work for everyone. But that's kind of what my unique experience was.
That's cool. That whole discussion on a step up in competition, I mentioned that earlier, that university sport in general is a step up in commitment, it's a step up in pressure and time constraints and all of that. Talk to me a little bit, Django, about as an NCAA Division I student athlete, how would you describe the academic and athletic adjustments and pressures, especially in your freshman year as a first-year student athlete?
Freshman year, coming out of high school, I was already kind of competing at that university level. So athletically, I didn't really feel that pressure. Naturally, I wanted to jump better. I want to compete to my best. So it naturally, that kind of fell into place. Academically, I think the only difference was I started showing up more. I started going to class and I sat in the front because, you know, if you're not keeping your grades up, you're not eligible for your athletics. So it was kind of the balance, and kind of smartened up a little bit and buckled down and kind of turned things around. Stayed more on top of classwork and homework, and even while you know, you're going to conference championship, but you're also bringing your homework with you. So a couple hours before your competition, you know, you're doing homework, you're writing a paper or whatever. So it is definitely a balance, but you know, if you love what you do, you know, you got to do the work as well. So I think it all kind of came together.
Learning how to prioritize.
Yeah.
That's cool. During recruitment, this is a question about scholarships, and you can each answer this in your own way. How much emphasis should be put on obtaining a scholarship, and at what point in your recruiting process did these conversations come up with coaches? You can think back, if you can remember.
I mean, for me, it was kind of all or nothing. I was in it to win it, and I had schools that offered me nothing, and I was one of the top 5 high schoolers in the world coming out of high school. And some schools wouldn't return my calls. Some schools offered me 30%. Some gave me books. Other schools were like, yeah, full, whatever, you know. And so even if you're, you know, performing at that level, it's not really a reflection of your ability or you yourself. It's also just if that program's in the position to give you what, you're worth. And for some, they didn't have that place for me, and it kind of guided my decision to look to New Mexico, where everything kind of fell into place.
Yeah, to build off of that, I don't think you should ever find yourself trying to force an alignment with a school. If you're not seeing eye to eye with a coach, but it's a school that you really wanted to go to because maybe you love the way that their uniforms look and you watched them on flow track growing up, but the coach isn't returning your calls, or you recognize that, oh, they don't really have an academic program that fits what I want to get out of my time in university, then that's a big red flag. And I've seen too many athletes try and muscle their way through the recruiting process and get an idea in their head that this is the school for me no matter what. And then even when the coach at that school says, we're not the school for you, they try and find a way. And oftentimes that ends up in getting much less than they were looking for in terms of scholarship compensation, or having a broken relationship with the coach, or only lasting a season and then having to transfer, or they stop running altogether in worst case scenarios. So I think for me, my options were certainly more limited than Django. I was also relatively new to the sport, and I think that from my limited experience with the coaches that I talked to, it became very clear right away whether the staff at that school was the staff that I could see myself working with long term. I took a couple of different visits, and it becomes pretty clear right away whether there's that spark and that click with the university. If they seem really enthused about you and they're the ones reaching out, or they're the ones getting back to you and furthering the conversation, that's a really good sign. If you feel like you're having to fight for every inch of the conversation, pulling teeth for information, it might be a sign that they're not quite as interested in you as you are in them. And I think that's where it's important to swallow your ego a little bit, because so many athletes have this idea that, well, I was the best kid in my city, or even the best kid in my province, and they just assume that everybody is as interested in them as they are in themselves. And that's something that I had to really kind of overcome, and it took through my first year of university to really realize that you're a much smaller fish in a much bigger pond when you make that jump up to the university level, no matter what level it is, whether it's youth sports, NAIA, NCAA. So finding a program where they're accepting and excited of who you are today, and where you also feel like you can grow more over your time there, is really, really important. It shouldn't be a case where they would only want you if you were to completely change yourself, or they'll only want you if you continue to improve at this kind of unachievable rate if you were a phenom out of high school. So yeah, I just being very open, eyes wide open to the relationships that you're going to have with these people. And as I said, when running is going bad, you don't want that to be the only thing in your life. You want to have strong relationships within that track and field community that transcend just your performance, because that's really going to bolster the whole personal experience of being at university for 4 years.
That was very well put.
Yeah, I think just to add, similar to you guys, but the financial aspect for me didn't really come up until after I had a relationship already with the coach that I initially had a really good bond with and connected really well with, even though I went to the tour at SFU saying to my parents, I'm not going here. But I left the tour after meeting the coach and thinking oh, we really got along well, and I could see myself going there. So I had some other offers from other universities where they were quite pushy and offered financial aid right off the bat, over email. But that just didn't really appeal to me because I had made a connection with the coach already.
Yeah. Scholarship conversation, yes, it's a factor. Everybody knows it's a factor. And oftentimes that's really at the forefront of your brain. But pushing that desire to talk about money and figure out what kind of school is going to be able to give you, what kind of athlete am I, or how much money could I get? Those questions are totally normal, but understanding that a more productive conversation is going to happen around money after that relationship is established and both parties agree, man, this is a relationship And it doesn't feel good to be pushed. And it also doesn't feel good to not know what you're getting. And the only way that everyone can figure things out is to talk about it and communicate. Each of you guys specialize in a single event. Lindsay, tell me, and each of you can kind of comment on this, through high school and university, what other events in track and field did you compete in?
I always loved running. I ran cross country and track in elementary school, and I, for some reason, just always ran the 800. And I still run the 800, so I never really changed events. I was always like a middle distance runner, and that's what I always enjoyed. And I mean, in elementary school, you run like every event, but that doesn't really count, I don't think, just for the fun of it. But I was never a strong field person. I cannot jump. And just distance running has always come naturally to me, so stuck with it.
Yeah, I guess similarly, distance running I think attracts a lot of people as an option of last resort when you realize that you can't jump very high or run very fast.
That's very fun.
But boy, can you grind it out for hours. So that was really my story. And it attracts a certain type. And I think the track and field more generally attracts a certain type that's very individually motivated.
A certain type.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the misfits. Something that was, I think, exciting about the university level of sport, especially in our country. In the US, high school sport plays a much bigger role in community culture and in kind of the psyche of athletes. Here in Canada, because we're so club focused, specifically in track and field, there's very few opportunities where you're representing a team with more than just kind of team bragging rights on the line. And that changes a lot when you go to university and it starts becoming a team event and you compete in team meets where there is scoring. And something that I found really exciting and unique was that aspect of team scoring where I would be called upon to run multiple events, not necessarily just the steeplechase. So during my time in university, I would run either the 1500 or the 5000 meter, as well as our steeplechase at either a conference meet or a national championship to try and get as many points for the school as possible. And I think that was something that was unique, is as much as I felt supported in pursuing my individual career, which was always going to be focused as a steeplechaser, running it for a university allowed me an opportunity to run for something larger than just my individual goals as well, and then branch out into other events as a result of that. And Lindsay's probably a similar case. When she was in the NAIA, they have the 4x8, they have the 4x4, the DMR in the NCAA, and that opportunity to run in different events and feel like you're contributing to the team, I think was really powerful. So I really enjoyed that. And I think another thing to be wary of when you're looking at schools is, okay, where do I fit in on their rosters? Is there going to be an opportunity for me to contribute to the team, feel like I'm adding value to them at their conference meet or their national meet or the regional meet? And where are ways that I can contribute? And I think being open to pushing yourself and stretching, and there's some events where that's not going to happen. Django is probably never going to find himself running a 4x400 as a high jumper. Maybe he was though, and I think just being open to that is a cool part of it. So yeah, just the multiple events was something that I really enjoyed in my experience.
Django, were you a straight high jumper all the way through?
I attempted an 800 meter once in elementary school. I got to 600 meters and I walked off the track crying.
Like I said, it takes a certain time.
And then senior year of high school, I did the 4x1 provincial champs. And then, for me, it was serious business, strictly high jump. And that was actually a big thing for me, because you go to the NCAA and you have some talent. The schools, like John said, will try to push you for points at the conference championships. So they can try to push you to do multiple events. And for me, I wasn't having any of that. When I went on my visit, I sat down with the coach and I said, look, if I'm coming here, I'm just a high jumper. Like, I'm not doing long jump, triple jump, high jump. I like my knees. I want a long career. And I was very grateful that they agreed that they would just allow me to high jump. And that was pretty much it for me.
Cool. I was just about to say, if anyone has any questions, I want to spend a couple minutes, give you guys a chance to ask, pick these guys' brains a little bit. Don't be shy, raise your hand. Otherwise, I can ask my final and favorite question.
Please ask some questions. This one sounds daunting. Save us for that.
No, it's really not too stressful. I think it's just all of you have gone through this process to university, but also far beyond. And I think if 10 years ago someone said, "Oh yeah, you're going to be competing at World Championships a decade from now," you know, you might have laughed. But we're not. You seem pretty gung ho all the way through once you figured out that you were a high jumper. But if you had one piece of advice to give your high school self in recruitment, in track and field, and as a student athlete, what would it be? Go ahead.
I think specifically in the recruitment process is just to spend time with the team that you're going to visit, and the coach, to make sure that the program and the atmosphere and where you're going to be living and spending the next 5 years of your life is somewhere that you can actually see yourself being at. That's probably the most important thing for me, was that right as soon as I met the coach, I could see myself being there. And you do spend a lot of time with your teammates. You'll probably end up living with them at some point. You see them every day at practice. You could be in classes with them. You travel with them. So it is really important to be able to see yourself getting along with your teammates, and they become your best friends, most likely. And so that's really important. And then just trying not to, I know it's hard because you have so many options, but become too overwhelmed and bogged down with all the details, and really just think about what, like 3 things that you are focused on looking at in a school, and then just see if those things work for you, because there are so many aspects and factors that can affect your decision, and you can probably go nuts thinking about all of them and all of the options in the world, pretty much. So yeah, I think those would be just a couple pieces of advice that from my own experience helped me.
Django?
If I could go back and kick myself in the pants, I would. I would tell myself to buckle down, take more initiative, and not be so passive in the process. Especially academically, it really closed a lot of doors for me. But in the grand scheme of things, even going to school post-secondary was not something I ever imagined doing. And so I was blessed with a gift and a grace. And I really was smartened up, and just I had to stay a week after high school graduation to do some extra credit work just so I could be eligible, and really lean on the people around you, your counselors, your teachers. Ask for help, use your resources, and put yourself out there, because even if you can't see it for yourself, it's still there for you.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. The 2 things that I would really say are, make sure it's something that you feel good about, kind of at an emotional level, that you're going there for the reasons that are important to you, not because it's the school that your parents went to, not because it's the school that your high school coach went to, not because they have the flashiest new facility or they've produced one fantastic athlete that you really look up to. And all of those things can be great reasons that can impact your decision, but ultimately it has to be something that you're doing for yourself, because you're going to be the person that's there for the next 4 or 5, even 6 years. And I think that I didn't really recognize the gravity of the decision, because this is a formative period in your lives, and the time from when you graduate high school to when you graduate university is, at least in my case, and I imagine Django and Lindsay would agree, a time when you really develop your own sense of identity. And so finding a school where you feel like you'll be supported in developing the version of yourself that you really want to be is super important. And I think above and beyond that, once you're in that experience, just taking the time to appreciate what a great opportunity it is. At a school like UBC, there's 50,000 plus students. There's about 600 varsity athletes. So you're part of a very small and very elite group. And I think recognizing what a gift that is and what an opportunity it is, the platform that you're given to be more than just another face in the crowd at your school, and also just how fast it goes by. It really does fly by. Like I joke with the current university athletes because I still see them training at UBC that I'm just a washed up member of the team now because I see them still, and you kind of desperately want to remain part of that community because it is so tight knit, and the relationship that you build there can potentially last a lifetime. And so just really cherishing it while you're there and investing in those relationships, knowing that they can last long beyond whatever amount of eligibility you have at that given institution is.
Okay, awesome. You guys had some really great insight. Thank you so much for coming out and joining us. Big round of applause for you. And with that, we're all going to step away, and my friend Brett's going to come back up here and chat to you for a couple minutes, I think.
Yeah. We had on the clock to go to 8 o'clock, so I'll try and hustle a little bit faster than maybe we've seen so far. But what I want to do is just kind of walk through how what we're working on at Streamline Athletes can help solve a lot of what Allison was talking about, and then hopefully we can use the conversation we just had to contextualize our solution as well. I also just want to say thanks to Lindsay and Django and John for joining us. That was really inspiring to hear, and I think if I was in high school again, I would love to have heard from three of you. And also, 2020 is going to be a big year for the three of you, so that's a lot in training as we get ready for your season, and then. Okay, so what I am going to do essentially is demo how our online platform can help high school students navigate university recruitment. And there might be a little bit of a hunchback here because I'm going to click myself through.
I can.
I think it'll be fast enough that I'm just. So, Streamline Athletes, we're unique in the sense that we are a track and field and cross country specific recruitment platform. There are other online solutions that you can find and create profiles on and potentially use for sport recruitment, but we really focused on, as former collegiate track and field athletes, building a sport-specific solution. And part of the reason we did this is just because it's such a data-driven sport, and someone who's a female hurdler is so much different from a quarterback, and collecting height and weight is not enough information for the coach to make an informed decision on. So we decided to really use objective information on both the athlete and the institution side to try and make life a little bit easier for everybody. We're also the only platform in any sport that provides online recruitment for Canadian universities. And we're pretty proud of that. So we really wanted to start in Canada and in Quebec and BC, where Alex, who I don't know if we got introduced before, that's my business partner, Alex, back there. He answered some questions. So he's from Quebec. He came up here to SFU. We met and did the track thing. And as I think it was John was just saying, some of these relationships can last a little bit longer than just your time at school. And here we are 10 years after we met, doing something still involved in the sport, but since we are far less talented than these three. We're doing something else. So our goal here is just to allow you to see and understand these 1,300 options, and then, as Lindsay was just saying, if there are 3 things that are really important to you in your search, we want you to be able to apply those and shorten the list, knowing that you actually did look at data from all the other schools that are now filtered out. You don't have to, we want you to be confident when you make that decision and know that, even if you did go somewhere close to home that you probably could have gone to without an online tool, you're doing so with a lot of confidence because at least you took a look at everything. And then on the total other side of the spectrum, there's the chance that you never would have known these opportunities exist, and you're at a small school in Florida where you get to be in the sunshine and it works out great for you. So that's our intent here, and that's what we're working on at Streamline Athletes. So let's jump into how that works. So I'll just kind of walk through a static demo. I'm not going to do a live one just because I wasn't sure what the Wi-Fi situation would be like. But I did this today before coming here. So these are all screenshots from this afternoon. So StreamlineAthletes.com is where you get started. You'll see a button that is a sign up button. On the homepage, there's both the yellow one and a blue one. Hit sign up. I recommend using either the Facebook or Google option, but if that's not an option for you, email and password. From there, you're going to fill out this first form. I've cut it into 2 pieces so we can fit it all on one screen. If you're a parent or guardian, that option does exist for you, and then you can add athletes using this same flow afterwards. But if you're an athlete, here's what it looks like. Name, email, my phone number. This box here is to send occasional emails to support my athletics. We aren't doing any heavy marketing there. Essentially, we'll send over some blog articles and things like that that touch on a lot of the topics that we talked about here tonight. And then hit that create account button. After that, basic information. So birthday is really important in recruitment. Whether or not you compete as a male or female is also important. Citizenship, great. And then when you intend to graduate from high school or SAGE if you're in Quebec. The final step, you're going to be prompted to choose either the plus on a 1-year or monthly subscription option, or our basic version, which is a free price tag right now. I'll go in more at the very end with what you get with the plus option. And then you're brought to your profile. Now, I should mention I did this on a laptop, so the screenshots are what it looks like on my computer. It's totally mobile responsive, so if you are visiting this on a cell phone or tablet, it will adjust to that screen size, and you'll get the same information in a slightly different view. If the screen is small enough, this menu will be a mobile-friendly menu that looks a lot the same as many of the other apps you probably use. You're going to see these obnoxious red complete your profile banners. These sections are ones, there's 3, one more below this, that we absolutely have to have all the information in order to even contact the coach. The sections beyond that are extra material that I totally recommend filling out, because that's where you can add highlights from BC High School Championships, or a URL link to a video of a race of yours, or even, what's the last thing? You can add information on your club coach and your parents as well, so that the coaches can be in touch with them, and certainly. Here's how to add a performance. You'll see this red button here. I quickly fill this out. Outdoor track, 800, 159. It's just an example. I didn't do this in high school. A date that I raced it on, and then very important, put in a link to where we can actually go and verify that. Something that we do at Streamline Athletes that is not available anywhere else is go check that link, put a green check mark on it, so that when a coach hears from us, they know that we've already done the background work on that performance, and it's verified from us. If we've already developed a relationship with the coaching staff at that school, they know exactly how we're doing this, and they're likely to prioritize an athlete email that comes through us over somewhere else, because they know they're getting verified information, and oftentimes they'll know that we have an idea of what their recruiting standards are and how the process works at their school as well. From here, this is the extra information I was referencing. I made up a track club today. Health and injury status is important. If you've missed the season and you can see that in your performances, you can make a note there. It's never a bad thing to note that you had a hamstring issue in high school. You're young, you're malleable, and you're probably going to recover quite well. And it's a good thing for a coach to know that you have that. If you hide something like that for the benefit of your recruitment, it could come back to bite you in your second year or third year. So yeah, fill that all out. I recommend filling out every field that you can. But if you don't know some of them, or you don't necessarily have a club coach that you want involved in your process, you don't need to fill that extra information out. The last two sections are a highlight section where I can put both track and field or cross-country specific highlights or other sport highlights that I'd like to add. And again, it's just a big red add button. The last one is it'll say your name. Fill that out. I recommend adding some personality. When we go to contact the coach, we can pull information out of this profile for you and put it together in a way that fits for that coach's recruitment style. And a lot of them really like to hear what you want to study and why you think you'd be a good fit for their team. If you're not sure, it's okay. But I recommend filling it in there, and it could make the difference. 159 athlete who is being recruited by school X might have an advantage if they let the school know that they want to study something that is offered there, and that they're a good team player who comes from a background playing soccer or hockey or something like that. So add that information in and be yourself. If we go to contact the coach and see something in here that we're like, we don't think that should go to that coach, we won't send it over. And we'll make sure we check on that with you first. Now that your profile is complete, you can move down to the Explore Programs section of the application. And here you'll see that right now we have 344 results on the platform. We are moving to collecting data for every single school. And that's something that I'll touch on when we get back to Plus. Right now, automated at your fingertips, you've got 344, which are the youth sports programs and NCAA Division II. At the top of this screen, you'll see some filters. These are examples of filters that I applied. There are other ones that include whether or not there's an indoor track or an outdoor track, for example. I put in Canada, BC, all associations, all conferences. I wanted to make sure they had a men's and women's team, indoor and cross country. And this was the list that was populated for me. I can see UBC, Simon Fraser, UVic, and Trinity Western. I know this is small text for you, so I'm reading it. And I've sorted them by their academic ranking, which we pulled from a third-party source, and have put on a national filter. So you can see that UBC is at the top of this list based on the fact that it's got the #2 academic ranking according to our third-party resource in Canada. And you can see verified badges next to 3 of these schools. The reason those are there is simply to indicate that we have an understanding of how that university handles their recruiting. And more specifically, we probably have a good idea of what their standards are. So by communicating with us, we can tell you, hey, you might fit into that coach's scholarship range or walk-on range, or maybe as a grade 10 athlete, it's not time to talk to that school yet. Let's go this way. The reason Simon Fraser does not have that badge yet is because we went to U Sports first and we built relationships with them, and now we're working on all of the NCAA programs at the current time. So you'll see more and more green badges as we go. From there, I can click through. I've used UBC because it was at the top of that list, and I get a profile on that school. So I get UBC's program page. I can see that they're an active recruiter. Again, this is another status or badge that that school can earn simply by working with us and communicating with us on how they handle their recruitment. I'll also get an add to your opportunities button, high-level view of the school. I'll get a list of all the fields of study that are offered there and links over to the university website. Get an overview of things like in-province and out-of-province tuition, international tuition, which is important for the American schools if you're looking at those. Undergrad population, essentially a Wikipedia-style view of the school. Further down, you're going to find information about the coaching staff. If the coach has provided information, in this case, UBC has, but it's a big block of text, so I didn't put it on the screen. Words from the coach, why you should be interested in that program. And finally, there's 2 more sections of facilities and a sports medicine section if they have any sports medicine that they offer to their student athletes. And these, if they have an image like this one does, link right through to the university's website as well to explain more about the facilities that they have to offer there. So that's an example of a program page. It's a little bit longer if you're on your phone, and it fits in a few scrolls if you're on a computer. But I'm going to hit the Add to Your Opportunities button on UBC and be brought to a screen like this. I'm also going to go ahead and do the same thing for American International College, St. Augustine, and Regina. You can tell I probably picked these randomly. Yeah, so I get a list, and this list can be as long as I like, and I can just store schools there that are interesting to me. On the basic free version of our platform, you do get 2 contacts, so it's totally possible to do all of your research, reach out to 2 coaches, and do a complete recruitment journey for free on our basic version. But there's also an option to go for Plus if you want to dig a little bit deeper, like a lot of premium services. So here you can see that I've made the decision as a grade 12 athlete to contact UBC, and I've got 20 days remaining. And this timer is to make sure that when it expires, you'll have another option to contact the university, and so that coach knows that there's a little bit of pressure to get back within a certain time frame, which other services don't provide. So that'll tick down. Tomorrow it's going to say 19 on my platform, and so on and so forth. And I can see that I've got 1 more conversation remaining, after which these will turn to an upgrade button if you'd like to have more. And another plus feature is that these lock response rates will unlock if you're on the premium version of the platform, which will just tell you the likelihood of that coach responding via Streamline Athletes. So we track every conversation that we have, and you can see the percentage response rate for the schools. In a lot of cases, we may not have contacted that school yet because we're quite new and we're expanding all the time, and that will be reflected as well. Any questions about sort of the flow through our platform? Okay, pretty simple. So yeah, create a profile, explore all you want, research all you want, get started as early as grade 9, and just keep that list. We will be honing the product in around the grades and making changes all the time, which we'll let people know about. We just launched this platform back in June, so it's changing quite quickly, and this is where we are now. So after this point, once that contact goes out, we take that information, we create a profile, and we go into the whole for that university based on the relationship that we have with that coach, and it's different with every school. And we're totally available from that point in time by email or phone or whatever works for you in terms of your communication to answer questions and move forward from there. And we'll let you know as soon as the coach gets back and what the next steps are. We're there to guide you along the way. So that's where we are. After this point, it goes to us. Yeah, and now I'll talk a little bit more about Plus and what that means right now, because it will be changing. It's $135 for the entire year, or there's also a monthly for $39.99 in case you only need to do a quick batch of recruiting within a month or 2 months to use the Plus version. And right now, what we offer that you don't get on the basic version is, as I mentioned, more contacts. It's unlimited, but we cap it at 5 at any given time. And this is just because coaches are more likely to talk to you if they know that your list is 5. This is also the same number of schools that you're legally allowed to visit in the NCAA, so it doesn't make sense to keep conversations going on with 6 or 10 universities at the same time. We can also provide manual recruitment to Div 1 and Division 3 and NAIA, and any school that you can think of where there's a track and field or cross-country program. What I mean by this is we have the data. It takes a while to transform all of that data into software that's user-friendly, but we want to use it in the meantime. So with Plus, give us a call. Probably going to be Allison on the other end of the phone, who's going to be working with you. And we'll do what the software does for all of the other schools that I just showed you manually. But you got to be on Plus for that because it does take us some manual labor still. And it's a little more old school recruitment. And then we'll let you know as soon as we have Division 1. Carlos is hard at work helping us collect all the information about the Division 1 schools right now so that we can get that up to you in 2020. Next, if we're working with a Plus athlete or family, we'll help customize a list of universities based on conversations that we have with you. So instead of just applying those filters yourself and doing the reading and doing the research, we can help based on a conversation, help put that list together for you. From there, we'll also prioritize you if we're hearing from multiple customers or users at once. Our Plus people come first. And then lastly, we will be releasing new analytical tools in the future. So different ways that we can dive into track and field or academics. For example, is the response rate. And some of those will be released to Plus first or Plus only. And we'll let you know usually in advance that's when they're coming out. With all this being said, this is totally subject to change. We're a brand new software company that just launched this back in very first version was in May and then in June after that. So things are changing quickly and this price point could go away or we could change to just a monthly model. We're working on it all the time and it changes. So it's not set in stone, but this is what it is right now. And yeah, any questions about Streamline Athletes, what we're doing? No? All right. I'll leave this information here if anyone wants to grab it. We do a lot on Instagram, Facebook, and we're just getting started on Twitter. So we're sharing recruiting resources out on social media all the time for anybody. Facebook, you'll find a lot of info that's geared more towards our parents and families. On Instagram, you're going to find very athlete-centric information. Lots of time to do with recruiting or what's going on in high school, college, track, and cross country. And then that's me, that's Allison, and our email addresses, and we'll get back to you usually pretty quick if you need any help. So yeah, again, thanks to Sabrina and BC Athletics for co-hosting with us. Thanks to our 3 awesome panelists for being here tonight too. And yeah, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch. And we wish you all the best in your recruitment journeys, and we hope to support you. It's really important for us to be helping our BC-based athletes as a BC-based track and field and cross country company. So yeah, thanks so much.